I am in West Branch, Iowa, and there is a lot of corn in West Branch, Iowa. But I am in West Branch, Iowa at the Herbert Hoover Presidential Library and Museum, specifically here for what's up here, crossing another president off of my list of people that I need to visit. So let's flip the camera and we can look at it together. This is the grave of the 31st President of the United States, Herbert Hoover, President from 1928 to 1932, had the unfortunate distinction of being the president who was in office at the time of the Great Depression. He was in president in 1929 when the stock market crashed. That's his wife over there. And then that's the president right there. Took the blame for the Great Depression, which isn't fair. The president before him, Calvin Coolidge, was very much a hands-off kind of president. And he allowed some things to go on. And presidents before him did too. But especially Coolidge allowed some things to go on that weren't sustainable economically. And I kind of always felt maybe Coolidge knew that. He knew that something bad was going to happen, because Coolidge could have run for re-election in 1928 and chose not to. And I always have kind of wondered if maybe Coolidge was like, let me get out of here while things are good. And then Hoover took over, and he took the brunt of the blame for the Great Depression. Like I said, I think it was unfair. But there he is. President from 1928 to 1932. He lost his re-election campaign. He won in a landslide in 1928 and lost in a landslide in 1932 to Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who tried to fix the Great Depression for, 7 years? And it only really let up when the United States got involved in a global war that laid waste to parts of all of Europe and giant parts of Asia. I don't know if that was necessarily a good trade-off to end the Great Depression, all that destruction. But that's what ended up happening. Before he was president, and then again afterwards, Hoover was known as a humanitarian, I guess is the word. He was involved in a lot of relief efforts. When World War I started, he was tasked with, and I think it was the U.S. ambassador in England. A lot of Americans were stuck in England trying to get home when World War I started, and Hoover was the one who kind of helped that whole refugee thing, American refugees, get back to the United States out of England. And then after World War II, Truman tapped him to as an ex-president. I kind of remember how George Bush II and Obama would send Clinton and Bush the first around everywhere. Anytime there was a crisis, he would send those two guys out to go and do humanitarian stuff. They kind of did that. Hoover kind of did that for Harry Truman. He went over to Europe, and all the people who had their homes blown up and their cities leveled and their farms destroyed. Hoover was the one who kind of got food going and got relief efforts going over there. So he did definitely do a lot of good things. Both before and after being president. He's remembered as one of our, I don't know. I don't know exactly where he ranks on the list, but he's definitely not remembered as one of our most successful presidents, mostly because of the Great Depression. But again, I don't really consider that to be his fault. And I don't think there was much he could have done once it had started. I don't think there's much he could have done to stop it. It wasn't like the Great Depression only happened in the United States. I mean, Hitler happened because of the Depression, because Germany was in the middle of the Great Depression. So, I don't know. I think he gets a lot of blame for the Great Depression when maybe he didn't deserve it. He did do some things that didn't help. I mean, he tried some things and they didn't work, and he tried some things and they made some stuff worse. So he wasn't a very good president, but he, everything else, he was a very good, he's a very solid human being. He kind of reminds me a little bit of a 1930s Jimmy Carter. Wasn't the best president in the world, but did a lot of good in the world, both before and after he was president. So there you go. That's the grave of Herbert Hoover, the 31st president of the United States. And now I can cross him off of my list of presidents whose graves I need to visit. I think I'm up to 15 or 16 now. I have to look and see. But yeah, so Herbert Hoover, and that's his wife, Lou Henry Hoover. She died 20 years before he did. And they were similar in age, too. So she died, well, actually, they were the exact same age, 1874. So she died 20 years before he did. She died during the war. So anyway, Herbert Hoover, 31st President of the United States.